I had been planning this day for 18 years. Not the outfit, not the seating chart, not even the little reception I'd arranged afterward with balloons the color of my daughter's favorite blue. I mean, I had been planning quietly in the back of my mind for the moment when Emma would walk across that stage in her cap and gown, tassel swinging, diploma in hand, and I would stand up and clap so hard my palms would sting, because I was the one who stayed. I was the one who sat through the fevers at 3 a.m. I was the one who learned to braid hair from YouTube videos, because my own mother lived 4 states away. I was the one who worked 2 jobs the year the child support checks stopped coming, who ate cereal for dinner so Emma could have real food, who sat through parent-teacher conferences alone while making up excuses for why her father couldn't make it. Again. So no, I hadn't planned for him to show up, and I certainly hadn't planned for who he'd bring. Part 1, the morning of. The morning of Emma's graduation, I woke up before my alarm, the way you do on days that matter. I lay there in the gray light coming through the blinds and let myself feel proud for exactly 4 minutes before the anxiety crept back in, the way it always did. Emma was 22 now, a whole adult woman, about to walk out of college with a degree in mechanical engineering. Of all things, a field she'd fallen in love with in 9th grade after her science teacher let her take apart a lawnmower engine. I remembered driving her to that robotics competition in the next county over, both of us eating gas station sandwiches in the car because we couldn't afford a hotel, and how her eyes had lit up when her team's robot cleared the obstacle course on the first try. Her father had missed that too. He'd missed most things. David and I divorced when Emma was 4, and for the first few years he tried, in the way that fathers who leave often try, sporadic weekends, birthday calls that came a day late, promises about summer vacations that evaporated the closer summer got. By the time Emma turned 10, David had mostly become a name on a Christmas card and a signature on paperwork. He remarried when Emma was 14. A woman named Priya, younger than me by about a decade, someone he'd met at his firm's satellite office in Chicago. I never met her. Emma had exactly twice, both times briefly, both times described in a tone that told me everything and nothing. "She's fine, Mom," delivered with the particular flatness of a teenager who has decided a topic is not worth her energy. I hadn't spoken to David in almost 3 years. Our communication, such as it was, went through a co-parenting app that neither of us really needed anymore, since Emma was an adult and there was nothing left to co-parent. I assumed, foolishly, I now realized that graduation would be no different than every other milestone he'd half shown up for. A text. Maybe flowers sent to the wrong address. Maybe nothing at all. I got dressed in the navy dress I'd bought specifically for the occasion, the one that made me feel like a woman who had built something real out of very little. I did my makeup carefully. I practiced, in the bathroom mirror, the exact way I planned to say Emma's name when I called out to her after the ceremony. I was, in short, a woman having a good day. Then I got to the stadium, found my seat in the family section, and saw him. Part 2, the arrival. He was 3 rows down and to the left, easy to spot because he'd always had that particular way of standing, shoulders back, chin slightly raised, like a man perpetually posing for a photograph that no one was taking. He'd aged the way men who take care of themselves age, gray at the temples in a way magazines call distinguished. He was wearing a suit that had clearly cost more than my monthly mortgage payment. Beside him was a woman I'd never seen in person, though I recognized her instantly from the handful of photos Emma had shown me over the years, mostly by accident, mostly with an apologetic wince. Priya. She looked exactly as I'd imagined, polished, poised, wearing sunglasses pushed up into hair that had clearly seen a very good colorist. She had her arm looped through David's, and she was laughing at something he'd said, head tipped back, the picture of a woman without a single complicated thing weighing on her. I felt my stomach drop the way it does on the first hill of a roller coaster. That lurch of, oh, we're doing this now. I want to be honest about what went through my mind in that moment, because I think honesty matters more than looking graceful in retrospect. My first thought was not generous. My first thought was something closer to of course. Of course he'd show up now, for the 20-minute photo opportunity, after missing every recital, every ER visit, every 2 a.m. crying session about college applications. Of course he'd bring her, dressed like they were attending a garden party. Like this was a stage for them rather than a milestone belonging entirely to our daughter. My second thought, close on the heels of the first, was about Emma. Had she known he was coming? Had she invited him? A tight, ugly knot of something, betrayal, maybe, or just old grief wearing a new coat, tightened in my chest. I found out the answer about 10 minutes later, when my phone buzzed with a text from Emma, sent from backstage where the graduates were lining up. "Mom, Dad just texted me he's here. I didn't invite him, I swear. I don't even know how he found out the date. I'm so sorry, are you okay?" I looked at that message for a long moment. Then I typed back the only thing that felt true. "I'm okay, sweetheart. Today is about you. Don't spend 1 second of it worrying about me. Go be amazing." I meant it, mostly. The rest of me was still catching up. Part 3, the ceremony. The stadium filled with the low roar of thousands of families, programs fluttering like pale wings in the warm June air. I sat with my sister, Renata, who had flown in from Denver specifically for this, and who, upon spotting David and Priya 3 rows down, had gone very still and then leaned over to whisper, "Do you want me to go say something?" "No," I said. "Absolutely not. Today is Emma's." "He doesn't get to just show up," Renata muttered, still glaring at the back of David's head like she could set it on fire through sheer force of will. "He showed up," I said quietly. "That's more than he's done in a while, let it be that." I didn't fully believe my own generosity, but I said it anyway, because I needed it to be true more than I needed to be right. The names began. 2,000 and some graduates, called out one by one in alphabetical order, the wait stretching long enough that people around us started reading books on their phones, fanning themselves with programs, murmuring about the heat. I didn't check my phone once. I watched the stage the entire time. Because I did not want to miss the exact second Emma's name was called, the exact second she stepped into the light. When it finally came, Emma Louise Whitfield, Bachelor of Science, Mechanical Engineering. I stood up before I even decided to. I clapped until my hands actually hurt, exactly the way I'd imagined, and I heard myself shout her name, embarrassingly loud, the way you're not supposed to, but everyone secretly wants to. Emma crossed the stage in her gown, tassels swinging just like I'd pictured, and for 1/2 of 1 second, right before she reached the dean, she scanned the crowd. I don't know how she found me in that sea of thousands, but she found me, and she smiled, wide and real, and gave the smallest nod just for me. I did not look to see if David was also standing. I found out I did not, in that moment, care. Part 4, the reception on the lawn. After the ceremony, the crowd spilled out onto the university lawn, that chaotic post-graduation swirl of gowns and balloons and parents crying and hugging strangers, because everyone's heart was too full to be selective about it. I found Emma near the fountain, throwing her cap in the air for the 40th time so her roommate could get the perfect photo, laughing so hard she nearly dropped it. She saw me and ran, actually ran, in heels, gown flapping, and threw her arms around my neck. "You did it," I whispered into her hair. "You did it, baby." "We did it," she said, pulling back, eyes shining. "I know how much you—" She stopped herself, glanced past my shoulder, and her expression shifted. I turned. David was walking toward us, Priya a step behind him, both of them wearing the easy confidence of people who assume every room wants them in it. He had a bouquet of white roses in one hand, expensive, the kind wrapped in that thick brown paper florists use when they want you to know you overpaid. He called out, arms already opening for a hug before he'd even reached her. "Look at you, Doctor of Engineering." "It's not a doctorate, Dad," Emma said, but she let him hug her, stiff-armed, her eyes flicking to me over his shoulder with an expression that asked, silently, "Is this okay?" I gave the smallest nod. "It's okay, be gracious. I've got this." "David," I said, when he finally turned to acknowledge me. My voice came out steadier than I expected. "This is a surprise." "Wouldn't have missed it," he said, as though the preceding 18 years hadn't happened, as though he hadn't missed her 6th birthday, her broken arm, her first heartbreak, her acceptance letter, Her sophomore year when she'd called me crying at midnight because she didn't think she could pass thermodynamics, and I'd stayed on the phone with her until 4 in the morning doing practice problems. I barely understood myself. "This is Priya," he added, gesturing vaguely as though introducing furniture. "My wife." "I know," I said pleasantly. "Emma's mentioned you." Priya smiled, a little too brightly, the smile of someone who has clearly been coached on how to handle exactly this kind of moment. "It's so nice to finally meet you," she said. "Emma talks about you all the time. You really did such a wonderful job raising her." I want to tell you I felt nothing at that sentence. I did not feel nothing. Something in me went very hot and very cold at once. The audacity of it. This woman who had met my daughter twice standing on university grass telling me, essentially, that I'd done my job well, as if she were the teacher grading my performance rather than a bystander who'd shown up for the encore. But here is the thing about 18 years of practice. I have gotten very, very good at deciding, in the space of half a second, what is worth my energy. "Thank you," I said, and I smiled, a real smile, or close enough that only I could tell the difference. She raised a lot of it herself, honestly. She's remarkable. Part 5, the moment. It might have ended there. It might have stayed a slightly uncomfortable 10 minutes of small talk on a lawn, the kind of thing you laugh about later with your sister over wine. But David, never a man who could resist narrating his own generosity, decided to say more. "We're actually thinking of flying Emma out to Chicago this summer," he said, an arm draping loosely over Emma's shoulder in a way that made her visibly stiffen. "Priya's cousin runs a firm out there, could be a great connection for her first job. Family helping family, right?" I felt Emma go rigid beside me. I knew, without asking, exactly what she was thinking because she'd told me 2 weeks earlier, curled up on my couch with a mug of tea, laughing so hard she'd nearly spilled it. She already had a job offer. A good one. From a firm in Seattle that specialized in renewable energy infrastructure, the exact field she'd dreamed about since that lawnmower engine in 9th grade. She'd accepted it a week ago. She hadn't told her father yet because, her words, he hasn't asked. I could have let her tell him herself. Honestly, that would have been the fair thing, the thing that centered her rather than the two of us performing our old marriage's leftover tensions on a lawn full of strangers. But something in me, call it 18 years of watching him take credit for showing up on the easy days, decided that this particular moment deserved to be witnessed clearly, by everyone standing there. "That's so generous of you," I said, still smiling, still pleasant, my voice carrying just enough for Priya to hear too. But Emma already accepted a position, 6 weeks ago. Full offer, signing bonus, relocation covered. A renewable energy firm in Seattle, the kind of work she's wanted to do since she was 14. She did it entirely on her own. Applications, 4 rounds of interviews, salary negotiation, all of it. I'm sure she'll tell you the details if you ask her about it sometime. There was a small, specific silence. The kind where you can hear the fountain behind you and somebody's toddler shrieking with laughter 40 feet away, and absolutely nothing else. David's face did something complicated, a flicker of surprise, quickly smoothed over into a stiff sort of pride, the kind men perform when they've been caught not knowing something they should have known. "Well," he said, that's great, Em, really great." "Thanks," Emma said quietly. Priya, to her credit, seemed to understand exactly what had just happened, and had the decency to look, for the first time since she'd walked up, genuinely uncertain of what to say. I didn't gloat. I want to be clear about that because it would be easy to tell this story as a triumphant takedown, and it wasn't that, not really. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't list his failures. I didn't say a single unkind thing. I simply told the truth, cleanly, in front of the people who needed to hear it, and let the truth do what truths do when you stop protecting people from them. I just smiled. Part 6, what came after. They didn't stay long after that. David made some comment about a dinner reservation, hugged Emma again, this time a little more carefully, as though recalibrating how much space he actually occupied in her life, and left with Priya trailing behind him, her heels sinking slightly into the grass. Emma watched them go, then turned to me, and I braced myself for tears or anger, Or the complicated grief that comes with watching your father remain exactly who he's always been on the one day you'd hoped he might be different. Instead, she started laughing. Not bitterly, really laughing, the kind that bends you over. "Mom," she said, catching her breath, "you just publicly outparented my dad in front of his own wife, and you did it smiling. That was the most terrifying thing I've ever seen you do." "I didn't mean to embarrass him," I said, though I wasn't entirely sorry. "You didn't," Emma said. "You just told the truth. He embarrassed himself. There's a difference." We walked back toward the fountain, where Renata was waiting with a tissue in each hand, apparently having cried through the entire exchange from a safe distance. My sister pulled Emma into a hug, then pulled me into one too, and the three of us stood there for a moment, gowns and heat and June's sunlight, and the particular hard-won relief of a day that had almost gone sideways and hadn't. Later that evening, at the small dinner I'd planned, just me, Emma, Renata, and two of Emma's closest college friends, at the little Italian place with the string lights on the patio, Emma raised her water glass and said, "To my mom, who showed up every single day for 22 years and made it look easy even when it definitely wasn't." I didn't cry. I'd promised myself I wouldn't, not today, not after already spending my one dramatic moment of the day being calm on a lawn in front of my ex-husband's new wife. But my eyes stung anyway, and I let them, because some things are worth letting yourself feel. Epilogue. David texted me 2 days later. A short message, "Sorry I didn't know about the job. Proud of her. Proud of you too, for what it's worth." I looked at that message for a long time. I thought about all the years I might have wanted to hear something like it. The ER visit when Emma broke her arm falling off her bike, and I called him crying and he didn't pick up for 3 days. The recitals. The empty chair at back-to-school nights. All the years those 5 words, "proud of you too," might have meant something enormous. They didn't mean nothing, even now. But they didn't mean what they might have, either. Time has a way of doing that to apologies, arriving late enough that they become something smaller than what they would have been, softer around the edges, easier to hold without being changed by them. I wrote back, "Thank you. She's going to do wonderful things." I meant it as a period, not a comma. And for the first time in 18 years, I didn't feel the old ache when I hit send, just a quiet, steady peace. The kind that comes from knowing you spent your energy exactly where it belonged, all those years, on the one person who was always, always worth it. Emma leaves for Seattle in 3 weeks. I'm helping her pack boxes this weekend. She wants to take the ugly reading lamp from her childhood bedroom, the one with the crooked shade I never got around to replacing, because, she said, it reminds her of every late night I sat up with her doing homework under its dim yellow light. Some things, it turns out, you don't have to fight for people to remember. You just have to keep showing up long enough, and eventually they remember all of it, the whole story, not just the parts that were easy to tell. But the end,